There's something heading through our solar system, something we've been watching for years, and now for the first time, scientists are starting to agree this isn't just another harmless space rock, it's real, it's measurable, and it could one day become a threat. Welcome back to Dr. Malcolm. If you're fascinated by the mysteries of space and the discoveries that reshape how we see our place in the universe, make sure you're subscribed because the story you're about to hear is still unfolding. Tonight we're talking about something very real, a confirmed object, carefully tracked, studied, modeled, an asteroid known as Apophis. For years it's been on scientists' radar, not because it will hit Earth, but because for a moment we thought it might. And even now, it's not entirely out of the conversation. Apophis was first discovered in 2004. Almost immediately it stood out. Unlike most asteroids, which pass safely at vast distances, Apophis had a projected trajectory that brought it uncomfortably close to Earth. In fact, early calculations suggested a small but real chance of impact in 2029. That possibility sent a ripple through the scientific community. Not panic, but concern. Because Apophis isn't small, it's roughly 370 meters across, about the size of a skyscraper laid on its side. An object of that size wouldn't cause global extinction, but it would devastate an entire region. Entire cities could be erased in seconds. Now, as more data came in, scientists refined its orbit, and the 2029 impact risk was ruled out. But that's not the end of the story, because what scientists confirmed next is what made this object truly unsettling. In April 2029, Apophis will pass Earth closer than many satellites orbiting our planet. Let that sink in. It will come within about 32,000 kilometers closer than geostationary satellites. Visible to the naked eye in parts of the world, this isn't theoretical, this is scheduled, predicted, locked into orbital mechanics. But here's where things become complicated. During that close approach, Earth's gravity will actually pull on Apophis. Not enough to capture it, but enough to slightly alter its path. This gravitational interaction is known as a keyhole effect. If Apophis passes through a very specific, extremely narrow region of space, sometimes only a few hundred meters wide, Earth's gravity could redirect it just enough to set up a future collision, not in 2029, but in the years or decades that follow. To understand why this matters, we need to talk about how orbits work. Every object in space follows a predictable path shaped by gravity. But these paths aren't fixed lines, they're sensitive systems. Small changes in velocity or direction can compound over time. Think of it like throwing a ball. If you change your angle by even a fraction of a degree, the landing point shifts dramatically the farther it travels. Now imagine that ball traveling millions of kilometers. When Apophis passes Earth in 2029, our planet's gravity will act like a cosmic slingshot. It will stretch and slightly bend the asteroid's orbit. Scientists have mapped out these possible paths in extraordinary detail. And here's the reassuring part. Based on current data, Apophis is not expected to pass through any dangerous keyhole in 2029, which means no known impact risk for at least the next century. But, and this is important, that conclusion depends on incredibly precise measurements because the margins involved are unbelievably small. Even though the immediate danger has been ruled out, Apophis remains one of the most studied asteroids in history. Why? Because it represents something bigger. It's a real-world test case of how close we can come without crossing the line. And it highlights deeper truth. We don't have perfect control over these systems. For example, there's something called the Yarkovsky effect. It sounds obscure, but it's incredibly important. As an asteroid absorbs sunlight, it heats up. Later, it releases that heat as infrared radiation. That tiny release of energy acts like a gentle thrust, slowly altering the asteroid's orbit over time. It's subtle, but over years and decades, it can shift trajectories enough to matter. Scientists have confirmed that Apophis is affected by this phenomenon, which means its path isn't just shaped by gravity, but also by heat. This adds another layer of uncertainty, not enough to create immediate danger, but enough to justify continued monitoring. So what would actually happen if an asteroid like Apophis did hit Earth? The impact would release energy equivalent to hundreds of nuclear bombs, not enough to end civilization, but enough to devastate a region the size of a large country. Shockwaves, fires, and atmospheric effects would follow. It would be a global event in terms of awareness, but a local catastrophe in terms of damage. The key point is this: we're not defenseless. Missions like NASA's DART experiment have already demonstrated that we can alter an asteroid's path, even if only slightly, and with enough warning, that's all we need. It's important to be clear, Apophis is not currently on a collision course with Earth. There is no known impact risk in 2029, 2036, or for at least the next 100 years. But what scientists have confirmed is something just as important. We live in a dynamic, ever-changing, cosmic environment. Objects pass close to Earth more often than most people realize, and while the vast majority are harmless, it only takes one. Apophis reminds us that these risks are real, not hypothetical, and that our ability to predict and respond is still evolving. In 2029, millions of people will look up and see Apophis with their own eyes, a silent, moving point of light crossing the sky, a reminder that space is not distant, it's right here, brushing past us. And for scientists, that moment will be more than just a spectacle. It will be an opportunity to refine our models, to test our predictions, to prepare for whatever comes next, because one day something like Apophis will be on a collision course, and when that happens, what we've learned from this asteroid could make all the difference. If you want to stay ahead of discoveries like this, real science, real risks, and the evolving story of our universe, make sure you're subscribed to Dr. Malcolm, because out there in the darkness, there's always something new being discovered, and sometimes it's closer than we think.